From the art of the deal to keeping it real. Live from the Simply Vegas studios, it's The Power Move with John Gafford.
Back again for another episode of The Power Move. I'm your host. My name is John Gafford. Welcome back, as always, to an episode of The Power Move. With me to my left, the one and only Bulgarian mongoose, Mr. Colt.
What's up,
Amidan.
everybody?
We need to get him like Method Man, where he's got 14 names.
That's
Just
it?
like
Just
Hot Nicks,
just lay
a.k.a.
'em
Johnny
out.
Blaze. Be like, the Bulgarian mongoose, a.k.a. the Polo
Money
Assassin.
That's how it was with, what was it?
Old Dirty Bastard.
No. It was Thomas Hearns. He had like 10, the Hitman,
Hitman.
the Inner City Cobra, like 10 different nicknames. But of course, you, the counselor, you just have the one.
I'll
The
take it.
counselor, Chris Connel, everybody. Welcome to The Power Move. This is the podcast where we talk about life, how to get better, how to do things, how to improve yourself. And today, continuing our series, hopefully you're checking this out, of where we talk about little topics from the upcoming book, Escaping the Drift.
Oh, you're going to say we're going to talk about how not to get cut off by every brand available.
Well, yeah.
How not to alienate
Kanye,
yourself from
yeah.
$600 million.
No. Well, okay. Well, today we're going to talk about, a little bit with that, which is, living with intent through critical analysis, which I think not enough people do well. It's something I struggle with in my life. And I guess, Kanye could be considered a walking, talking kind of example of that. Do you think he thought further than 2 seconds?
I don't think
to
he
do this?
thinks further than his front nose.
No, I don't think he
Not
does
at
either.
all.
I think there's certain things that maybe you can come back from.
I don't think this is one of them.
No, you want to hear my?
Him and Mel Gibson just out there.
No. But even Mel kind of made a little bit of a comeback.
Mel did make a comeback.
But here's my point. My point is this. Ready? This is my conspiracy theory, if you will, in regards to this.
I'm ready for it.
I think Kanye wanted to get himself canceled. I think he was sick. I think he's sick of being in the public eye. I think he's like, I have more money than I ever want to spend. I think I'm just done. So I'm going to say some insane, crazy shit. Everybody is going to drop me, and I will just be free to do whatever I want to do.
John,
I don't think
if that
he's
was
doing
Colt,
that.
if that was you, if that was
Yeah.
I don't know. Find me a very famous person that has all this money that wants. No. He's said crazy shit for years. It's just he's
Never
gotten to the point
affected
where
the wrong-
he lost a lot of the cachet.
Yeah.
He's over time denigrated his own brand.
Yeah.
Because first off, at some point you look at him walking in those galoshes, you just go, we've all jumped the shark.
Yeah,
We've all
it's too far.
This is the Balenciaga.
The Gap trash bags was too far.
$1,000 Crocs or whatever.
Just
You
everything.
jump the shark at some point and you lose the cachet because you are no longer cool. You're not putting out cool music.
Yeah.
Right. He had a huge amount of cachet because he had so much valuable, good content. Like when he put out Yeezus, Twisted Dark Fantasy, like the preceding 3-4 albums were highly regarded, very good content that people wanted. Right. It was cool. Then he was with Kim Kardashian. Then he was all this. Right. So he hit that point where he was given a lot of grace, and you earn a lot of forgiveness in life if you've put out a lot of great content. If you're exceptional and you do all this stuff and it hits, you can take swings and misses. You can be Bruce Willis singing The Art of Brutus. Remember that album Bruce Willis put out?
Oh, yeah.
You vaguely,
But you don't
Played
that
harmonica
doesn't
on it, I think.
That doesn't define his career
No.
because he has content outside of that. But the problem is, you do get to a tipping point where you lean the mixture too much and the engine starts sputtering.
Yeah.
And if you don't come back with Yeezus 2 or Don or whatever 3, and you don't adjust the mixture again, then your engine sputters.
Okay, so how much of that is Kanye losing his cachet, and how much of that is
Going after
the Kardashians just succubusing his skill and his talent?
Ask Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
I mean,
All those guys,
those chicks
right?
are undefeated, man. I mean, it's undefeated. Listen,
About 12-0.
They are. They're like
would've
12 and
thought
0.
that they
I
could
mean,
beat Kanye.
seriously. I mean, okay, like they have the NFL rookie symposium where they go out and they say, guys, seriously, like you need to save for your family. Don't go out and blow
Don't
your
get a
money.
Ferrari day
Don't
two.
get a Ferrari day 2. Get to your second contract. Invest some of your money. Do you think there's like a whole day now on dating the Kardashians? Like, just seriously, don't.
Who's going to put it on?
Like, don't.
The world loves it. Those men are sacrifices to the Mayan gods, right? You know, like the cornfields or whatever to make the baby's tears to make the corn grow. We're here as society going like,
God.
tribute. You know, we got to burn somebody in order to have, so they can distract from there. Those people are legitimate billionaires now, Kylie, with her makeup on, all this tertiary business stuff, and we're all fine letting it go as long as we taste blood once in a while. Those poor bastards.
Man.
They serve it up. But, you know, it's just one of those things also that if it doesn't affect you, sometimes people look past a lot of things, right? The decision makers of Hollywood, of businesses, or you know, all of that.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
No. John and I are both.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not going to say it.
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say
We
it.
don't have Adidas as a sponsor, but we would like to have Adidas
But
as a sponsor.
I would like to go on record saying that I have
he should have been
a
canceled.
half-Jewish grandmother, so I just want
No,
to walk
I'm
this
not
back.
saying that. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, how long do
real quick,
people
real
get
quick.
pushed off?
For the record, we
before
know
they
that's
get
not what you meant.
No, I know. I was not going that. No,
Just was
but my point
trending a little
is
too close.
there's so much going on in life that people kind of just don't realize it. And then you start thinking, holy cow, this guy for 10 years has been saying stuff that should have gotten him
Canceled him a
kicked
long
to the
time ago,
curb.
but he had enough cachet to
But that's what I'm saying.
thin
Like,
out,
you know,
his
gotta,
welcome.
He's insane.
He just kind of.
He just now wore out his welcome, and now it's going to be a pylon session.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
'Cause it's
Which
been 10 years.
It's going to be trendy to cancel him.
Well,
it's
it already
trending.
was when he wore White Lives Matter a little while ago.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why it was
Yeah.
today.
Or when he talked about that the African Americans chose to be slaves or whatever he said, something crazy like that. Like,
yeah.
how did this guy not?
Yeah,
I thought for sure that'd get him canceled.
Nah.
So,
People go, well, you know, it's like there's in life. Here's the thing about women that I've learned over time, and this is not when a woman's done, she's done with a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
Like because it's my theory, maybe I'm wrong, but a woman oftentimes in a sort of a prototypical heteronormative relationship, a woman often looks to men who are a protector role, and that's just the way the patriarchy is currently set up. Not for good or for bad or whatever, but once a woman has lost that feeling of like that guy is the guy I want to be with, and truly lost it, that is over.
Yep.
There is nothing that you can
back
do.
to that.
Like it's over.
Nothing.
Men will go back, right?
Right,
As long as the
they never got guys don't get pushed over the edge, right? Most of the time, they kind of cut it quick. Where women want that. That's our last resort,
and they'll put up with some bullshit for a long time, but that moment, and it's day one, day two. When it's over, it's over.
And I think Kanye was on that. It had nothing to do. He could have said
society was just forgiving him.
He could have gone after any type of class, anything, and it would have been over the edge. He was already teetering. That was a last. You could flip flop anything he said, whether it's about Jewish
maybe not the people that Hitler killed, and then to say to a German company, and you can't say nothing about it because you're German.
Yeah,
like
I think it's literally like, okay, let's see. I insulted my own people, didn't work.
No.
Well, he insulted everybody.
White people
John's
didn't work.
theory makes sense.
And then they're like, wait, like where can I go from here? Who are them? Like
the only way you can rationalize this, John's theory, if he wanted to be canceled, now nobody would ever want to be canceled.
No, but I mean, at this point, if it didn't work, like if he didn't get canceled,
he had to step it up.
At this point, it's going to be like, okay, the Jews didn't work. You know who's unfairly prosecuted? Child molesters.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go?
Free child molesters.
It's like,
but he's pretty much offended everybody if you look back over the last 10 years.
Not like funny, like a stand-up comedian that crosses the line.
No.
It's just like
the stuff
boring and gross.
Yeah,
he truly believes it, right? Like that's what's
boring
crazy.
But I think, we can all agree. And what we want to talk about today is critical thinking in your decision making and your understanding. And I think where a lot of people run into trouble, or what holds them back, is they don't critically think very well through a situation, or they don't look at a situation for what it is. And I think that is a skill set that a lot of people really need to develop. So I want to talk about just some different things through those ideas. Now, first of all, I'll talk about a lot of people don't understand and downplay their success is sometimes really, really because of those around them.
Oh.
And this is a mistake I see a lot of people in companies and say middle management make when they start to believe their own hype, not realizing that their strength is really coming from someone behind them or underneath them. They don't appreciate their teams in the way that they should.
The Russell Wilson effect.
Yeah, the Russell Wilson effect. I mean, when I was coming up in the restaurant business, it was funny. When I worked for the corporate restaurant chain, I had a guy that worked for me named Dave Levins, and Dave kind of went with me everywhere I went. And I always said when they would move me to a different place or take me to a different place, I said, I'll go, but I'm taking Dave. And eventually he ended up getting his shot. Happy to say he, was done very well for himself later in life. He owns his own restaurants that do well. And so he's done well. But the point being was I was always very cognizant that my success was innately tied to his ability to fill in the holes. He was better at some things than I was. Mm-hmm. And I knew that. So, I think that's about being honest with yourself where your blind spots are or where you lack skill, and understanding that leaning into the people that surround you is sometimes there, because a lot of people just try to bowl their way through those blind spots. And I think that's a recipe for disaster.
Jack Welch talks about that in his book about leadership and in management. He said his greatest ability was to find those people smarter than him.
Yeah.
To have surrounding him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't even say, smarter than you.
He says it's smarter. What he meant was more adept at whatever task.
Yeah, their task.
Wherever
it's Jack Welch in his own ways he was a bold, confident man, but he was self-deprecating. And I like leaders that are self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Amongst their, when I'm around my paralegal and we're talking to a client, I said, well, the boss, whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. You got to ask her. She's the one that knows it,
Yeah.
And
defer.
Yeah, because it's makes you feel good too if the person that is in charge or who's hired you, right, defers to you and recognizes your value. You're also going to build up a lot of positive goodwill.
No, I mean for sure. It just, I think too many people just misjudge their own talents, or more importantly, they just don't seek to surround themselves with the right people. They can complement what they do to get them to the next level. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's an old saying that says, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others.
Yeah. That a lot.
And I think that was always one of the things that I was always able to do was go further, because I was able to surround myself with others that fit in where it was.
That are smarter than you.
Yeah.
As much as you say, oh, maybe not smarter, whatever. People are smarter than you in certain things.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not to bring them up again, but a couple of months ago, Kanye goes on blast, like, I'm not listening to somebody poorer than me, right? For Gap. Like, no, you're sitting there saying just because they got less money doesn't mean they're not smarter on how a design should be.
A lot of people with a lot more money.
We could do like a whole hour on Kanye.
And I hate to bring that, but that bothered me a lot, because you should surround yourself with smart people. And I've always said that's wrong. What's wrong with our politics is we expect one guy to have all this knowledge of everything. Like, no, separate it out.
Well, that's the power between, like, say, a parliamentary system and a presidential system is the ability to appoint your cabinet. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
So.
Yep. And I think also situational awareness, one of the things that drives me crazy with people is when they paint themselves into a box. Like, they just assume that because of their personal experience, there's no difference in what they do.
What do you mean?
What I mean is like I'm poor because my parents were poor. I am this way because I was raised this way. And I know that is incorrect, because if you look at some of the best parents that I know had shitty parents.
Oh yeah.
But rather than perpetuate that cycle, they chose to break the cycle.
Have you heard that saying that you shouldn't seek to be a good descendant, you should seek to be an amazing ancestor?
Yes.
Like, you owe your parents nothing. You should want your kids to be looking, to be remembering you. Yeah. I don't need to impress the generation before me. I need to worry about the generation after me.
Right.
Yep. No, I think people just get so quick to want to label themselves based on prior experience or what they didn't have or what they did have, and it becomes an excuse.
Do you think they remember you as John the Bridge Builder?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can Google that joke. I don't know if we're going to quite tell that.
That's why I just.
We're not going to tell that one on the old podcast. Colt's already trying to get his trying to get his kill today.
Let me finish my statement on that. I was not going where you thought it was.
No, but I'm saying if you're one of those people that has put a label on yourself based on previous experience. I mean, one of my favorite sayings is the past is like a paper book novel. When you're done with it, you throw it away and you buy a new one. I don't even know where I picked that up. I think it was a line in a movie, but it's always stuck with me. Like, it doesn't matter how you were raised. It doesn't matter anything else, especially now. Dude, anybody that says like, I didn't have the money to go to college, I have the money to do it. Dude, the wealth of human knowledge is sitting in YouTube. There literally is almost, short of something you have to, have a professional license for. There's nothing you cannot learn from YouTube.
There's literally nothing you cannot learn. Nothing. But more to that point, when people say that to you, do you ever hear that in the context of, I don't know that because I haven't gone to school, or is it I haven't advanced in my career because I don't have the paper?
No, what I feel like is I don't even hear it in that context. I hear it in as people want to make excuses for where they are in life. They want to make excuses for where they are to a certain extent. And in that, what I'm saying is the thought process that you are stuck in a certain place because of circumstances that happen to you is more poisonous than the situation you're actually in. The thought process that gets you there.
Yeah.
Because that thought process is a prison that you're locked in. You can't get out of it. And the only person in the world that has a key to that is you, because until you see yourself able to escape your current situation and aspire to something more, you're screwed.
Which is all about surrounding yourselves with other success of where you want to be at, right? Like where you can sit there and see somebody else broke out of that mold or whatever it might be.
Have we talked much about free will?
I mean, here and again, speak up, counselor.
So the older I get, the less I believe in free will. I don't believe in free will.
Okay.
And here's what I mean by that. I'm not free to go play like Most Dangerous Game and go hunt and eat a human. There's no part of me that could do that. I'm not free to go do that. I am the culmination of all of my experiences, including exposure to teratogens in the womb, the genes that I was born with that combined, all the experiences I've ever had up to this moment in time. I believe that there are like choices that I may make depending on my day and hormonal balances and whatever. There are things I'll do differently within a set though. So to your point, when you introduce things to people that are positive, when you introduce information, when you introduce people that are going to sit here and consume this podcast, you're going to change your outcome based on basic deterministic principles that you've created new synaptic connections in your brain about how you view the world, right? The more things you consume experientially, the different the person you are. People see free will. It's like, I'm just this free will person that I can make these random things if I want. It's like, no, you're not. You are literally the culmination of all your experiences. John, you're not going to go out and do a million things. There's a million things you're never going to do because you're not free to go do them. Now, no one's preventing you from doing them, but you're never going to do them. So how free are you to do those things?
Well, I think,
see what I mean?
Well, sort of. I'm going to refute that a little bit.
Sure.
By saying that I think at any time you do have the free will to just make a choice to do something completely different than what is within every fiber of your body. Because I've done that. I've done that. I've said, you know what, man, I'm not happy with where I'm at right now. So it's like, you ever see the episode of Seinfeld where George was just like, everything I do is wrong. So what I'm going to start doing is just going to do the complete opposite of everything that I ever do.
And everything got better.
I started got a girlfriend, got a job with the Yankees. I mean, literally opposite George became like just super happy.
The winner, right?
But the point is, you do have the free will to make a choice that is completely outside of your comfort zone or completely outside of your belief system.
Are you saying like choice. You have less of ability to achieve that, right? Like me, I'm not going to be an equestrian, right? Because I'm afraid of horses and genetically I'm afraid of horses.
But you're afraid of horses, right? So for you to...
Is that what you're trying to say?
But I'm not saying you couldn't be taught to learn how to like them. I'm not saying
try it.
But here's the thing. When people say, where does free will come from? Is we like to, and I always kind of viewed it as there's this Chris who's like just a biological entity, and then there's this me, and I just think these free thoughts, and I'm just so open to whatever.
Right.
Then you look back on it, you go, every single thing is a culmination of all prior experiences.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Chris Connell today isn't the same Chris Connell 20 years ago. And the freedom I thought I would have had then, I now recognize that I don't or do or would have made those choices, right?
Sure.
You're going to have preferences within a set. You're not biochemically the same all the time because you have different hormonal levels. So you may do this thing, one thing, but are you ever going to go home and beat and murder your children? Well, no. There's literally nothing in your fibers being that could do that. You have to act within the parameters that make up your psyche, that make up your mental health, that make up your biological health, that make up all these things. Well, so you're not free. You can't just go out and do anything.
Listen, I think everybody has a code of ethics and conduct that does govern to a certain extent your belief system, which is why, some people put the shopping cart back, some people don't.
Right. Yeah, but that's probably because you had ethics, you were raised a certain way, you were taught certain lessons, you saw certain things. So you are a culmination of all of the prior experiences of your life. And what I mean by that.
No, but see, the difference is, I think that's like Jordan Peterson says. I could choose to leave the shopping cart out. I choose not to because I want to live good. It's like Jordan Peterson saying, a pacifist man is a weak man. You have to have the ability to go to violence and the control to hold it down.
That's right. But all of that, though, there are people that don't have the control to go down, and that's why they go to prison. You could choose to leave a shopping cart, but do you?
Leave the shopping cart?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you're free to do it.
I am.
But you don't.
I choose, but it's my free will choice.
So you're saying mentally,
when you always choose the same thing,
I could.
I just think that concept is overplayed. I think people overvalue, and this is where this comes into the learning lesson, the teaching lesson of this. It's overplayed to think, oh, I'm just free to do all this stuff. I'm not free to go do certain things. I don't want to go and do all these things. I'm free to, and I never would. So really, am I free to go do it?
Yeah, because it's a choice. It's a choice not to.
But it's one of those things. It's like
still a choice.
Well, no, it's not a choice if I
never do it. In the immortal words of the great Neil Peart, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
But again, if you are, like I said, you're going to make choices within a set.
I get where you're saying.
I'm never going to just go quit my job and go be a pre-K teacher in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay. Well, can we talk about some interesting choices? Let's talk about some free will interesting choices, which is this. So last night at the Knights game,
he bet on the Patriots.
No. Last night at the Knights game, sitting behind me, I'm like texting Chris, is Toronto the equivalent of like Arkansas in Canada? Because oh my God, I had the funniest people sitting behind us, and this was. And it was like I had the most Canadian hockey experience I think I've ever had. It's the equivalent of, and you said it was in New York, which is worse, which is funny. You said Toronto's like New York.
Toronto's is New York, but you got to remember, New York is still surrounded by.
Oh, yeah, I get it. So,
by Yonkers.
But the people behind us, so I had these people behind us that were Maple Leaf fans, and they had a friend with them that they obviously came with that was an Oilers fan. And I knew this because he was wearing head-to-toe Oilers gear. Yeah. And he was rooting not so much for the Knights, but against Toronto.
That's pretty solid.
Right. And he was very loud and very vocal about it. And his friends were getting so mad. And all I could think of was like that, fuck you, Shorty.
Yeah, fuck you, Shorzy.
Shorzy, whatever it was. But they were yelling at each other. When the guy got hurt last night, went down.
No,
this
Tavares?
Guy.
He was yelling about Tavares'
tirade.
Injuries.
Oh, my God. Get up, you bum. What'd you break your fingernail? Like Tracy stretching this guy out. And it was relentless.
He wasn't from like Bay and Bloor Street. He wasn't from Charles.
No.
That guy was from Ajax, and he just says he's from Toronto. It's like the closest major city.
Oh, God.
Funny how fans get so.
Oh, my God.
What do you think about people that wear other teams' shit to a sporting event? Like, the Yankees aren't playing, right?
Yeah.
Why are you wearing a Yankees jersey? They're not playing.
Well, I loved it because, dude, by the end of it, right, the Maple Leafs fans over here were like, we hate Vegas. I wish I could get a flight right now. This guy's like, yeah, get out of our town, you idiots. You lost $300 playing roulette last night. That's like $40 Canadian. I just yelled. They were literally picking a fight kind of with each other. It was so funny. Me and Gedge were dying laughing at that, which was
little
hilarious.
Canadian politics, though.
Yeah,
Edmonton's a West Coast, right?
Yeah.
And when you talk about the South not liking the North, the West not liking the East.
Like the East, that's how it works.
Because the population is all very concentrated in the East.
Yeah.
It's Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah.
So Saskatchewan, Manitoba, BC, Alberta, those provinces feel disrespected by the East and that their opinions aren't taken.
It's valid.
Because they can't vote out the East.
Yeah, it's like the Midwest here.
It's like the Midwest. If you're from Chicago and you're like, those New York guys think they're so cool or whatever. So
and that's it.
That's it.
It was so funny. But, obviously this guy had well thought out his approach last night to the game, which was
the enemy
funny.
of my enemy is my friend.
That's it, exactly. But I think critical thinking and where my life really got better was when I started living with intent and critically thinking through situations. And I'll give you some examples of some stuff that lessons that I learned the hard way of things that I didn't. One of which is I was in a partnership a long time ago, and it was a tech firm that I was a partner with, and I didn't, truth be told, looking back at it, I could have done a lot more. This is right around the time I was on The Apprentice, and it was, this is before social media, and it was really bizarre at the time to have, tens of thousands of people talking about you in chat forums.
Oh,
it was a really bizarre thing.
AOL chat.
Yeah, and it was constant, and it was really bizarre, and I kind of got sucked into it. So I didn't necessarily do the best job here, right? Holding up my end of the deal there at that tech firm. Anyway, I had a little bit of one of my best friends owned the joint, or was the main partner that had brought me in. His dad and his best friend were the investors, right? And when we kind of started to go bad with me and Dan right before I took a buyout there, Dan had gone away on a trip or something, and I was, and for some reason, I don't know why, like this is checkers thinking, not chess thinking. Like, look, his dad and his dad's best friend are the major investors in this company. The die is cast. There's no winning this war, right? But I took it upon myself to send an email to the main investor, I don't know what's going on with Dan. I'm a little worried about it, and blah, 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 blah. That was not a well thought out move. Sure. It still ended up with me kind of getting bought out from the company, and then Dan going on to great things. God bless, and I'm so happy for him that he did that, and very apologetic. I didn't do well there, but the moral of the story is not thinking through the situation. And so many people play checkers with decisions they make and not chess. They don't look at how this decision is going to affect that decision, or this domino is going to make that one fall down, and they don't take the time to really explore their decision-making process. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, you're an attorney, so critical thinking is so important.
And game theory.
And game theory of how you walk through these decisions when you make them, how I do it, and how we all do this. Because I think if you just get an idea of how successful people think, like the process that goes into it, really can help you on a daily basis.
Oh, that's all law school is, by the way. When you talk about leaving with a piece of paper, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's what it is how to think in a certain way. Law school is there to prepare you how to think. And people, that is in a very practical, skill-based way. It's not this ephemeral, philosophy, right? Where you say, how do you philosophize? What is good thinking? Well, you can fall into the pedantics. You can get into this, that. You're not necessarily good thinking, but with very strict, regimented Socratic method where you're responsible. You have to go through this free-form discussion and debate where you have to question your own thoughts. Yeah. And a law professor, what they do is you have, there's cases. And so one day it'll be, they'll just follow along. That's all law school classes are. They follow along and you're up. So when it's this, they'll ask you a question and you answer it and say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And you're just keep answering the same question. And they'll say, well, why would it be this and not that? And you have to go, well, I don't know. Sometimes, and then you get stuck.
Right.
And then, or if you're wrong, they'll literally just go to the next person.
Yeah.
So there's this huge social pressure of not looking like a moron.
Because you don't want to get clipped by the professor.
You're getting clipped bad. You're just like, oh my God. And
okay, Mr. Connell, that's enough from you today. Mr. Smith. And you're like,
it is. And you're going, well, no, hold on. Come back to me. Oh my God, my ego.
Yeah.
Right. My ego's completely been
Thank you for
bruised.
those thoughts.
Yeah. No, but so you have to be prepared. And that's why everybody in law school is cramming and reading or whatever. They need to be prepared to answer those questions outside of just rote memory.
Yeah.
Because it's not rote. You have to interpret it. You have to metabolize it.
One way or the other.
Yeah, I think, again, when it comes to making a decision, I try to look at, I try to go out at least 5 steps, right? Especially, obviously, if it's not which taco am I going to order off the menu at Tacos El Gordo. I'm talking about when you're like, okay, I'm going to fire this person, or I'm going to change this plan, or I'm going to pivot to this arena, or I'm going to get in business with this person. Now, the problem I think most people make, and I've been guilty of it in my younger years, is what is the best case scenario? What's going to happen? What does the performer say? That looks great. Let's do this.
High, low, middle.
Yeah. And here's the thing, man. And I'll tell you, I am a sucker. I've been caught up in the glitz and the flash. I've been caught up in the quick proposition, the quick dollars. I've been caught up in that, man, where I'm like, this looks great. I see this. Let's go for it.
I only see the best case scenario.
I only see the best case scenario. And you've got to stop and get rid of that quasi just completely rose-colored glasses thought process, and you've got to start thinking almost like the scientific method. You've got to break it down to, okay, what am I really working with? Yep. So for me, if it's a human being, if I'm dealing with a human that I don't really know, I'm looking for people that I know one step away that have done business with this person. I'm trying to find somebody that I can vet them through that is gonna stamp them and say, this is a good dude or whatever else.
High character.
Not
high
even
quality.
necessarily a friend, right? I always tell
it doesn't matter
people,
if it's
I wouldn't go after somebody's friend because most people don't have the guts to talk bad on their friend, right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, if you found somebody that's done some one-off deals or some stuff like that, they're more inclined to tell the truth about somebody than, their best friend. Do you guys look at best case scenarios? Because I never do.
The only reason I'll do it if there is a best case scenario.
Yeah.
You have to have a high end.
You have to.
For me, all of these things come down to this.
Risk and reward.
Risk and reward.
That's all it is.
And mitigating damages.
Yep.
Minimizing potential for loss. Well, that's that whole, when you look at what production possibilities frontiers, when you look in game theory, when you look at all these things, it's culmination. So in the Harvard negotiation course, you go through these things and you set yourself, high, low, what's my walkaway number? What's my, whatever. And when you're in mediations, an alternative dispute resolution is a whole process of this. You can set a high, low. I'm willing to take this. I'm willing to sell you for this. I'm willing to give you for this.
Nobody wants mediation. Everybody's mad. A good mediation, everybody should be mad.
Everybody should be equally angry.
Everybody should be equally angry when they walk away. That's a good mediation.
So that's how now I make decisions for other people because I'm oftentimes put in a position to advocate. As an attorney, people think you just go in there and start yelling at people and change the law. It's like, the other side is an attorney too that knows the law. What you need to be is persuasive. Yeah. And you have to find solutions, right? The best attorneys out there can find solutions where everybody's better off for doing business or everybody's better off in the settlement than they will be without it.
Yeah. But the idea is to stay away from a settlement by vetting the person right up front.
That's right.
That's what you want to do. And
papering it up front. Just, Jesus, I got a call today and I'm not going to get into it because it was a referral from a friend. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, can you get me out of this deal? I'm like, well, who got you into the deal? She's like, well, me. Like, with who? Well, the seller. Like, well, did you have an attorney look it over? Did you have agents working on it? Nope.
No.
I just walked face first in this thing and just started signing shit. And it's like, what? Like, what? How do you operate like that and have the money to purchase commercial property?
It's people think they're smarter than what they are, right? I'm smarter than this. I'm a better negotiator than my agent. I don't need an attorney, and that's why I told some of the other. I had this talk last night. I go, "You're nuts. You're going to double." No, I did because they're trying to do stuff and they have not a clue. They couldn't purchase a car on themselves, by themselves. Yeah. They left their dad's stuff and they're trying to do stuff to their current place right now. And I'm like, you're nuts. It's going to be costly.
So vetting the person, number one, you got to vet. Yeah. Number two, but also if you're dealing with a situation where you're going to do something that's going to affect somebody else and you don't know how they're going to react, you've got to take stock in what you've seen that person do before. Mm-hmm. If you are
because we're determined.
Well, no, just one of the things here's a real quick way to become constantly disappointed. It just is to depend on the integrity of others or holding someone else to the same standard of which you will.
That's right.
Right. That is an excellent way for you to constantly be disappointed because even today, like today, I had a deal where, I'm doing this coaching thing for a bunch of our agents at the company and the price is, loyalty to the brands. That's the price. And I made it very clear. I value my time. My time is very expensive. If you figure out what I actually earn per hour of work, it's just a lot of value that I'm giving. And it's a lot of work to coach these guys. And I looked today and some of them were still marketing like other title companies in their listings. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, so I reached out to a bunch of them and it was like, they're like, oh, I had that before this. I'll change it right now, blah, 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 blah. But there was a couple of them, man, that I'm like, knew what you were, like, I know that you knew, right? And I'm like, at the end of the day, like I told them all, if you have relationships you value and this isn't for you, fine. You don't have to be in this. I'm not mad at you if that's the choice you make. But if you're in here, you're in here. It's what we're doing. And to me, that's an easy, like, integrity deal. Like, it's a super simple thing. Like, that is a line, in or out. If you say you're in, you're in. Mm-hmm. Not like, I'm going to say I'm in, and they won't check.
Tepid water.
Yeah, like dude, like I hate, and I made a video. I didn't post it because that's another thing we'll talk about, which is
Drafting the angry email
yes,
and deleting
the best
it.
cure for anger. Sometimes just saying it, and kind of the gist was my disappointment. Like, dude, you got to understand, if you're stealing from me, like if you choose not to do this, I get it's one thing, but if you choose to say that you're going to do it and then not do it, and I'm giving you the most valuable asset I have, which is my time, you're stealing it.
Or your hair, John. I'd say your hair.
Your
Yeah,
your hair's right.
Somebody asked me yesterday, he said, do you ever have a bad hair day? I'm like, once in 1987. It was a long day. It was a bad day.
Every
It was a
day
bad day.
for me.
But
I
no,
wake up
need
screaming.
a
So
slot.
but
people,
vetting
too.
the people involved in your decision making, you have to look at what they actually have done in the past and how they behave. Don't project how you would think you would behave in the situation, what you think you would do. You need to look at what they have done in the past. You need to look at their track record of what they may do, because this is how you're going to come up with an actual honest idea of how they're going to respond. If this is
You're saying a tiger doesn't change their stripes, right?
exactly.
And frankly, it over time, I think that's maybe not true, right?
Oh, I think to a point.
To a point. But again, like I've said so much, like even on this show, I think people who are who they are.
Well, I think
I really do, John. I really think
they are.
We'll talk about it later, but
they don't change. But the point being is like for example, we talked about it before about not doing business with people that cheat on their spouses, because if they cheat on their spouses, they're going to bang you out. There's no question.
And I was going to say the exact same thing. How many people are out here getting married because they have all this, gushy feeling and they don't get a prenup?
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate sign. That's the ultimate thing you should do when you get married. And I don't care that you're in love. I don't care if you have the same whatever. You should get a prenup.
Yeah.
Period. And here's why. If things aren't agreed to beforehand, they'll become an issue at some point in time. And I don't just mean, spouses sounds cold or whatever. And obviously a lot of people don't have them.
Let's put a happier spin on that same thing, because I always talk about when people form real estate teams with partners.
Partnership agreements.
I always say,
Yeah.
what happens if this falls apart?
That should be understood and agreed, though.
Up front.
And it's not an affront to your relationship to say, hey, if you start fucking the neighbor, you don't get my house. You know what I mean? That should be pretty much.
But that goes back to like partnership.
That's
You've
right.
never seen how they've acted before in a partnership agreement. The whole thing with the Will Smith, Chris Rock slap. Everybody's like, oh, I'd have knocked him out. No, you wouldn't have, because you didn't anticipate that, because you've never seen somebody walk on stage and slap you. Right. Now you've seen that. Now somebody gets angry and walks on stage. You're going to be ready to fight now, because now you've seen that before, right? And that's what John's point is. Talk to an ex-business partner, right? Like, I've always been told, slot people where they're at. You won't be disappointed. I am very, very
comfortable doing that.
Well, I just don't get disappointed by people. Like, I've had deals with people. They're like, how can you be around those people? Like, because I slot them as an asshole. I slot them as selfish. So when they're an asshole or selfish, I'm not shocked. And I run my business or my way through that, So slotting people off of their past behaviors is something I think.
No part of you watched WWF as a kid, though? WWE, when he started walking at him, that maybe he should have just speared him or something. He didn't see it coming.
No,
I've seen that happen.
I didn't see it. Honestly, no. Everybody in the world thought it was gonna be like one of these. Whatever.
Yeah,
like
I know. I'm just kidding. I just.
But now that
nobody
he's seen it, right?
Nobody saw Iceberg Slim coming from seat 3F and landed across from the left eyebrow to lower right lip.
It's funny that you went to pimp instead of actual wrestler.
Yeah, I did. Right, Iceberg Slim on it. I did. But again, so understand what these people will do and look at the scenario, because again, we're talking about analyzing, making decisions. Look at your upside, understand what your upside is in a decision. What do you have to win? And then what is the absolute worst case scenario?
What is your walk away?
No, not what your walk away. If I do this and everything that happens goes badly, what is going to happen? Where will I be?
That's what I mean. What's your blow?
Where will I be? What is the catastrophe that happens? And the problem with this catastrophe is this. Here's the thing. A lot of people do this, but they don't necessarily take it to the 10th. They don't take it all the way out. For example, they do things like they say, okay, like I'm in the real estate business, right? Let's say I made a change. I did something here to the company and it really only affected, like, call it one agent, right? But this agent had some juice. And I said, okay, if I make this change and this agent gets mad and they leave, I lose that agent. But what if I didn't account for the fact that agent has 6 best friends and now they take all of those people as well?
Sure.
Like I've got to owning a business. I've got to take that decision all the way to the end of how bad it could be.
So
I can really, really be honest about what the worst case scenario is.
So that's the value of experience, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would know that better than I would, right?
Yeah.
For certain businesses that you're in that I'm not, there's things, right, where you would know, hey, here's why that ends up being a bad idea. Mm-hmm. That's why I try to collect information from experienced people in the industries, because they'll say, there's been times when I thought I had a great idea, and someone will say, no, that would equal encroachment,
right?
Or
let's talk about that too, because decision making. Analyze all the pieces, analyze all the people, look at the worst possible situation, look at the best possible situation, analyze the risk.
Right.
Is the win worth the worst case scenario?
Mm-hmm.
If it is, move forward. But what you just said is really interesting, because that is also kind of a mistake that I've made many times in my life, which
not knowing
now there's a way to do it. Well, no, which is this, which is, and I talked about it this morning in my coaching thing, which is don't fall too in love with your own ideas, man. You can't do that. You've always got to keep the scientific thought process going through, especially with your own ideas. Because if you fall in love with it like a kid, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And one of the best lessons that I had them in here and I took them back was my vitamins. We talked about
vitamins.
Yeah. The $100,000 bottle of vitamins, man, you've got to make sure that there's a demand for your ideas, or there's something that people want before you do them, which is why I love Kickstarter. Because now you have an idea, you can fake a prototype that works. None of the stuff you see on Kickstarter actually works. They just have one plastic mold and they're faking it works.
It's a prototype.
Yeah, it's a prototype to see if you actually are interested in buying it.
Mm-hmm.
So test your ideas. I mean, that's a big part of intentional thinking, is understanding that every new idea I'm going to test it before I dive headfirst into it.
It's a weird phrase, and I don't know why. Thankfully, people understand that this is actually like a phrase, but it's called Chinese math, right?
Yeah.
It's based on the size of the population of China. Mm-hmm. So a lot of businesses, they do Chinese math. They go, all I need is 1 in 1,000 people and I'll have 1 million customers. So I just need to capture 1 in 1,000 people, without understanding cultural context, without understanding that if you don't get 1 in 10 people in China, you're not going to get 1 in 1 million.
Yeah.
Like you're either going to get
everybody
all or nobody.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work like that. You don't get to split and buy for, you know what I mean? Like whatever, that aside. And it's not until you have true research, information, focus groups, whatever you get your information from, that you'll understand what the positives and negatives or potential outcomes are. So that's where talking to people with experience come in. That's where a broker is valuable, because you'll come up and there'll be times when I've called you, John. Yeah. I've personally called you, and I'll talk to you about an interesting thing that happened very recently.
Okay.
But you and I spoke about it, and I took your opinion of it very to heart. So I've told other people, you can't do this for this reason. Or if you want to find out, it's going to cost you a ton of money. Yeah. Thankfully, this is a happy ending. I found somebody in a scenario we were talking about, and it just so happened that it doesn't matter anymore. So this is why we'll talk about experience and how you never know the outcomes of stuff. In those contracts that people were sending out all year saying 30,000 over appraised value. Yeah. You remember those? Yep. And the Las Vegas Realtor Board said those lack definitiveness. Right. They were saying those are unenforceable. Well, the court disagreed. Yeah. The court actually says, no, that has a definitive value. Yeah. There's an appraisal and plus 30 over. Yeah. And you and I were talking about, I said, John, do you think I should pursue this? And you're like, it's going to be a dice roll, because LVR came out and said that it lacks definitiveness, right? And the courts haven't talked about it. And who wants to go spend $30,000 litigating the proper value, whatever? Well, I found a gentleman who put principal over money, which is often rare because people won't put their money where their mouth is. Sure. And he did, and it was successful. Wow. So. Yeah.
I think the big thing you said, or you just said that I was going to say, is focus groups, right? You don't need to go pay for a focus group, but you better ask some people that'll be honest with you. Yeah. Because that's the biggest thing I see people, oh yeah, it's a great idea. It's a great idea. Find somebody that tells you it's a great idea or a horrible idea, then go to an attorney, find out worst case scenario. Yeah. Right? Like, hey, you know what?
The world could fall.
They die doing that, or you get in a crash because you're doing whatever it is. Well, there's a lot worse case scenario than you as an average human are thinking
probably
about.
Figure what it is.
Right. You want to hear something else shocking about something like a focus group, and people undervalue them. You take a jury. We focus group juries before cases, right? So you'll focus group juries. There's not a single time that I haven't been completely perplexed
At what
the jury came back with. They'll say, well, no, this is whatever. And you have stereotypes. I don't care who you are.
Right.
Everybody has stereotypes. So you're sitting there thinking, okay, this person is going to be on my team because this is let's say I have a left-wing issue, I have a liberal issue, I have a Me Too case. There's this woman, approached by her boss and got drunk and hit on her in her car. And then he said, whatever. And then whatever. So I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, I have a woman, on the jury, she's going to be sympathetic to me. And then they'll come back and go,
she's the one that held up.
Yeah, I don't think a manager would do that.
Really?
You're like,
everybody,
no!
you can't assume that people are on your team. When Hillary didn't go campaign in Ohio,
right?
It's just sort of like, no, I've got this thing won.
Right.
It's like, you don't know that.
Assumption,
you don't know what people are thinking.
No idea.
What they're thinking. So you better find out, and you better be there, and you better make sure that your value proposition is being put out there. So,
well, I think, it's funny you talk about that. I think the biggest problem with people living with intention is they don't go into a scenario with any goals, with any knowledge or any thought of what's going to happen. And they just, the interactions happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think this is actually something I was always pretty good at, which was having a good angle to it. And my sister taught me this, and this was the best thing ever. And I'll teach you how to never get a B. If you're a student, listen to this. This is how you never get a B on a subjective test again. This is how you do it, because this is what I did. This is what my sister told me to do. So if you have a test or a paper or something that is in college, especially, that is subjective, right? Like your thought process is being pulled apart. It's a subjective grade, and you get a B. You go to the professor during their office hours, and you just sit down and say, hi, I got a B on this. I was wondering if you could just, go over it with me and explain to me what your thought was as to why I got a B, and then have them go through their entire thought process. And then you say, I'm sorry, I just still really don't understand. Can you explain it to me again? And then you do it again and again, and you burn their whole time. There as much time as you can. You burn every second until they are literally like, I have to go home.
Yeah.
You do it as nice as you can. You're like, well, I just really don't understand. And literally, as you're walking them out to their car, if you can, I just because I made this point, I just thought this. The very next time they go to grade you, they'll be so terrified to give you a B because they know you'll come back. They'll never do it again. That was a very successful tactic for me. It was successful for my sister. And that...
Or just write a really good paper the first time.
Because here's the point. This is about understanding the rules of the game. It's about knowing the game. And that person valued their time more than they valued
the curve.
Their opinion.
Yeah.
Their opinion of my work was not as valuable to them as their time was, rightfully so. So they didn't want to waste any more of their time arguing their opinion of mine. Now, if it's a Scantron ABC test and you get it wrong, it ain't going to work. But anything that's subjective, you can absolutely do that.
But even in live, people, I've got a client that's like, everybody fires me. And I said, because you're wasting their time by being that, he's that pushy, in work with certain things. So he can't get contractors to work with him.
I got a couple.
Property management. So you got to be careful on who you push.
Yeah, time burglars.
Yeah. You start getting that, behind you.
I had somebody walk in my office today, and they said to me two things. And it's so funny because they were asking me questions that we pay people to do this stuff. And they say to me, they go, hey, can you do me a favor? I want to get my banner up on your back agent site. It's not me. Can't do that. Talk to this person. And I want you to help me because I want to do some videos in the studio. Again, not me. Talk to this person. Yeah. Well, I just figured I'd come right to you. Nope, not doing it.
Yeah. Go to the guy.
Not doing it. Well,
right there.
Here's a funny one. We had a meeting with somebody the other day, and it was funny because they told us, they go, yeah, you guys, I wanted to meet with you, so I'm not going to charge you the $100. It was like, what? He goes, yeah, like a year ago, I just started charging people $100 if they want to meet with me. So when salesmen call me, anybody calls me, they want to come and meet with me, I'm like, yeah, it's a $100 rate.
Wow.
That's what
How do you feel about that?
I think it's amazing. I thought it was great.
So you didn't like it when Ari Gold, when I said you should send an invoice if people are wasting your time.
No. But
fake invoice that you cancel.
No, but this, you want to try to come in and sell me something? You want to come in and chit chat? You want to burn me stuff?
You better believe in it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll know exactly. If you believe in your product enough, and you're going to make a ton of money. Yeah.
You know what? I think I'm going to start doing that because there are a lot of
$100.
people. No. I think I say for sales calls to pitch my business, it's $100.
$100. I will listen to your pitch. I will sit through it, but it's $100.
I will listen to your pitch with open ears, and if it's honestly something for me, I will purchase it from you.
$100.
You'll weed out people that don't believe.
$100.
I'd pay $100.
I'm doing that now, by the way.
No, but I think.
If you,
but here's the thing. I think you can
hit
do
the
that.
horn.
What's that?
Hit the
horn. There's power move. Oh, there it is. There's the power move. No, but I think you
Teachers
can do
become
that.
the student. I am 100%
doing
every
that.
time I get a sales pitch.
Yeah.
I am now doing that.
Sure.
I am
if you want to come to the office, pitch me. It's $100.
God, think of the value the power move has created for people.
Just so much, right there. Just that one little tip. But here's the thing. I think if you do that, you're living intentionally. You're intentional with your time. Mm-hmm. You know the value of your time, and you're living intentionally. So there's a little tipperoo.
Well, like I said, I still stand behind that thing. If somebody, not Colt calls me up, yeah, let's chat about stuff.
But if I did it numerous times,
constantly, I'm just going to start sending invoices.
I like that. I know John didn't care for that, but I did like that.
Especially when I charge for time.
Because you charge. Well, everybody's charged for time. They might not realize it, but they are. Sure. So, but I sit there and think, God, man, people waste so much. Guy goes to me today. I'm going to say, hey, I just saw you in the parking lot of another place. I'm like, God, we got a meeting in 10 minutes. He's like, oh, so I guess we're not doing this meeting. I'm like, no, I'm back already at my office. Like, you were going to lunch. You wasted my time. You just didn't realize it. That. People waste and waste and waste your time.
Well, I think, what's funny about that is when telemarketers call me, when my wife knows, when a telemarketer calls me, I just hang up on them. Right. If as soon as I know they're selling me something and I'm not, I just hang up and get just like, that's so rude. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Absolutely not.
No, it's not, because they're just dialing for dollars. I'm not going to buy. I think trying to save the guy some time. Just
totally
save them time.
I used to be that guy that I would try to be polite and all this stuff.
No, you're wasting their time.
There's nothing. But did you check and call with me to see if I'm with my kid right now?
There's
you
nothing.
Don't care.
Well, even in business,
they're working.
In business, Chambers called me, right? And I told the guy, hey, look, this isn't for my real estate. This is nothing. This is for roofing. I just need the very cheapest thing right now because we're just starting up. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I can be on your president stuff and everything. I go, just give me the cheapest. I'll sign it. Let's go. He goes, well, usually this is 45 minutes of people pretending they have all this money. To
Bobby Big Wheels.
Like, no. And he goes, thanks. And that guy has introduced me in 1 month to so many people because he's a straight shooter. He doesn't waste your time.
No, it's a good reputation to have. This guy will not bullshit you.
Yeah, he doesn't waste your time. He gets the deals done and that's it. So finish up, Connell. One bit of advice for people to live intentional with their life. What would it be? If you had to give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Know what you want to do. Know what you're working towards. Mm-hmm. I mean, you talk about it a lot, which is wonderful, because to be conscious of the drift. Mm-hmm. Now I'm drifting out there, and it's funny too. And this stuck in my craw because you accused me of it at one point in time too.
Who, me?
No, John. Because I have this business where it's part of it's difficult to say who's going to walk in the door. There's a lot of variables in my business. I can't say, okay, well, I'm going to get these 3 people that are going to have these issues. It's hard to plan for. Yeah. You can't be like that. It's hard to scale up like that, right? I'm going to cold call 100 people till I get 2 car accidents. It's like, that's not how car accidents work. That's not how real estate transactions work.
It could be.
Just kidding, FBI. Just kidding, State Farm. You're just a mill of people trading off policy. No, don't do that.
Don't do
that. No, I take it very seriously. But it's difficult. So for me, sometimes I feel the drift, wherein I'll be slammed one week and the next week, I'll have time, and then I'm like, oh God, I had all these things I was planning to do when I had the time to do it. And now it's here, and then something will happen, then I'll have to go here, then I'll go, I had time that day to do some written discovery, and now it's gone, I got to plan this, and you start to feel that drift because it's, maybe you're in an industry that has a bit of built-in drift.
Yeah. Some ebbs and flows.
And just minimize that if you can, and remember what you're working towards.
Yep. Colt, what say you?
I think that there's been numerous studies, right, of people either on their deathbed or at least 80 and above, right? And everybody's biggest regret in life's not doing something.
Yep.
Not something they have done,
Nope.
Just not doing something. So I tell people all the time,
Excellent.
Read people, slot people, know where they're at, use them for you to go where you want, right?
Excellent.
And just because somebody hates somebody, I mean, I'm sure there's people that hate all of us at some point, right? But we could utilize it.
Can you imagine?
Those
Imagine being that guy.
Imagine. I mean, 1 out of 3, but all 3 of us at the same time. No, but I think just, doing what you want to do, and again, slot people has been the greatest advice people have always given me.
One.
I love that.
Slot people.
Just nobody regrets the things they do. They regret the things they didn't do.
Well, I got 2. And number 1 is, this morning I was working out, and I don't know why I was thinking about this while I was working out, but I thought, I spent a great amount of my life not being in the gym regularly like I am now, and not having a regimented gym thing. And I thought I didn't really get serious about it until I got a why I wanted to do it, I was thinking to myself, I really wish my son would be in here more regular now that he's, is he going to be 15 and he's being here moving weights around a little more often.
Yeah.
But I realized me telling him to do it isn't going to make him do it.
Nope.
He's got to come up with a why of his own, which is why I don't even ask him to go in there. When he figures out it becomes important to him, he will then do it.
You know what that why is going to be for him?
Girls. What?
Yep.
100%.
Okay.
When that becomes important, he will come in and do it.
Girl he likes one day is going to be dating that big buff dude, and that's going to be a why.
Well, here's the next thing, which is this. Live with a sense of urgency. And I got to tell you, and I got to tell you this, which is this has been bothering me ever since it happened a couple of weeks ago, which is this. Ever since I saw our Egypt stuff come up and realized that was a year ago, I was like, I need to go do something cool every year because I'm 50 years old, man. I don't know, I'm in great health now, but who knows how many years of adventure I have. So I feel this I felt a mad burning urgency to say, we got to figure something out somewhere to go.
I climbed the tallest mountain in the United Kingdom in May.
Yeah, well, that's like 6 blocks.
No. It was all day. No, it was a tough climb because a buddy of mine was having a kid and getting married in Europe, and I met him over in Scotland, Ireland, and what all that. But I get in
urgency.
I have urgency. I definitely live with a sense of urgency. Yeah. And I what happens is, like, my arm right now is jacked up because I'm doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But I realize that I only got so many good years left to do jiu-jitsu. So now I know I want to get to a certain place. Yep. So I do it. I play basketball tonight. I have, gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I realize my meat machine is going to break down one day. Yeah. And I'm going to regret if I didn't climb that mountain, if I didn't, whatever. So 100%, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's wonderful.
Well, man, I hope this helps. I hope some of the tips helped you today. I hope some of this stuff helps you out. I hope you start billing people that want to sell you stuff for your time.
I love that, John.
No. Hope you do that.
And, I may cut a deal, say for friends and family, it's 75.
Yeah, there you go. But I hope this helps you, man. Live with some intent in your life. And if you're going to move, man, you might as well move forward. We'll see you next time. Hey, it's John Gafford. If you want to catch up more and see what we're doing, you can always go to thejohngafford.com, where we'll share any links that things we talked about on the show, as well as links to the YouTube where you can watch us live. And if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can always follow me at thejohngafford. I'm here. Give me a shout.